Hi, I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be women who have low romantic interest, enthusiasm, and effort. Well, I got two emails I'm going to go through with you today, and both of these guys are dealing with women that, quite frankly, just don't have a high enough level of enthusiasm, interest, and just simply aren't making the effort. And what most of us tend to do, including women, is we tend to project our fantasy of what we want the other person to be onto them, and then we ignore the reality of what they're reciprocating or what's coming back to us. The key is you just don't want to get caught up wasting your time spinning your wheels. I mean, it's great because like I talked about in 3% Man, you want to make about 2 attempts to make a date. And if you get no enthusiasm, no interest, no willingness to make a date, it's obvious the girls just aren't into you enough to warrant any investment of your time. So these 2 emails can be good, especially for people that are new, to what to avoid. So you don't end up wasting weeks and months hoping to turn something or nothing into something and just spinning your wheels and wasting a lot of time and getting frustrated in the process, because you want to have a good experience in your personal life, not deal with women like this that are enjoying the attention, half-assing it, but really not reciprocating the same level of effort or interest, even though they may lead you to believe that they're interested. It's the lack of enthusiasm is what you got to pay attention to, because we've all seen the movies and the TV shows that kind of teach this thing about one-itis, where we meet the one. And most of the movies, what you see is the guy's really interested in the girl's not really interested in the guy. He spends the whole movie trying to jump through his butt to impress her and get her attention. And eventually, at the end of the movie, she's like, "Oh, I think I'm in love. I'm such a fool. You were there all along." And then they live happily ever after. In the real world where I live, when you see a lack of enthusiasm and interest and effort, you don't waste any more time. You just move on to find somebody else. But if you really like the girl, because remember, we make all our decisions based upon our emotions, and then we use logic and reason to justify it. And so if there's like almost no effort or interest coming back from them, and we really have high interest, what happens is we rationalize and we BS ourselves into thinking that there's more there than there really is. And it just ends up wasting time, and it's just not good emotionally for us to stay engaged with somebody that's just not reciprocating, or not reciprocating on the level they really need to be. Because you want a woman who's easygoing, easy to get along with, and who's excited to see you and talk to you and make dates with you, that she wants to keep and is excited to see you. Super, super important to have a good experience. So let's go through the first guy's email. He says, "Hi, Coach. Hope you're doing great. First of all, I want to thank you for all the information you provide us to get better in our relationships with women. I have read the book 2 times, and I'm still learning new stuff from your videos." Well, you got to learn it, read it 10 to 15 times. Ideally, you can listen to the book on 2-speed while you follow along in a digital or physical copy, and then you can get through the book in under 4 hours. And then you get your 10 to 15 reads down very quickly doing that. If you're just going to go through the book a couple of times and then try to cherry pick from videos, you'll get some attainable success. I've done plenty of emails over the years where guys get attainable success, but they don't listen and they don't learn the book, or worse, they get into a relationship after only reading it once or twice because the pickup and the dating skills work so well. But then when they get 6 months down the road, they never bothered to learn the relationship stuff, and things just go sideways and completely spiral out of control, and then they revert back to their previous behavior before they even met the girl. And it just doesn't end well. So he says, "Here's my story. I met this girl on a dating app, and she was super hot. Red hair and some hot tattoos with pretty white skin. Sounds like she's a little Irish. We started talking about my profile, and the conversation was keeping very interesting for both parties." Well, that's what he's assuming. He's assuming she was really interested too. And this is part of the process that we BS ourselves. "Oh, she really liked me. I could tell. We really love each other, Coach. Oh, but she went and slept with my friend. But we really love each other, care." Yeah, but you ignore the fact that she slept with your friend. He says, I realized while we were chatting that this girl was very smart. I didn't want to keep losing time, so I asked her for her number. She gave it to me right away. Then we started talking through WhatsApp to know more about each other. She said she was a beer sommelier. Then she sends me a pic of her at a brewing factory. And I answered, awesome, I love factories. I think I'm an industrial engineer in my heart. Then she said, so if I take you to a beer factory, sounds like a perfect date. He says, this line said to me that their interest is going the hell up. You tell he's enthusiastically grabbing onto any thread and going, oh yeah, she really likes me. She says, you were absolutely right, I replied. He says, we kept talking about ourselves, and suddenly I said, I have to tell you something. She says, sure, tell me. I answer, I have to say red hair is like kryptonite for me. Yeah, I probably wouldn't say that. You got to think in terms of, again, these are covered in the book. Is this going to make you look confident? The number one most important strength characteristic that women love in men is confidence. And you're just saying, oh, red hair, I'm not going to be able to handle it if you get in touch with me or if we're together. It's like, it's just a bad way to go. She replies, my weakness are men with a beard and long hair. Then I answer to her, guess I fell short with the hair. These are little subtle things that are communicating. And if her interest is really high, it's like you can get away with these things. But if her interest is low to mediocre, and you're basically going, oh, darn shucks, I guess I don't measure up. I don't match what you're looking for. Darn it, I hope you like me. That's a lack of confidence. He says, I think I shouldn't have said that, but anyway, well, he kind of knew. Then she replies, by the quality of the conversation we are having, you are not falling short about anything. So she could tell, and you're communicating that you don't think you're good enough for her. That's the last kind of vibe that you want to be giving to a woman. You want to be giving confidence. Like I said, if her interest is super high, if it's a 7 or an 8 on a scale of 1 to 10, you can get away with that. But if it's only a 5 or a 6 and you're talking that way, that may be all it takes for her to go pfft, and then lose interest and respect for you. He says, I was impressed by that answer, but kept this going for more. Then she asked me if I like tattoos too. This was telling me that she was looking for my approval. He says, I replied with, why don't you show them to me? She replies, I can show you some, but not all of them yet. Then I reply, not all of them yet, with a smiley face. She says, I like your confidence. Then I finally tell her, if you prefer to show me your tattoos in person, we'd better go for a drink. So we made definite plans to meet each other. Until this point, how do you think I did, Coach? Well, like I said, a couple of your responses communicated the opposite of confidence, and she even noticed it and felt that. And again, if her interest in you is marginal and you're displaying a lack of confidence, even though she says, hey, you're good, later on, as she's thinking about it and seeing how she feels about it, her interest is going to go the opposite way. We didn't talk until the day of our date came, almost a week later. And I remember your advice. If she doesn't reach out, you better keep pursuing your dreams. That's not in the book. I don't know what you're talking about. Half an hour before we met, she sends me an audio. I'm very sorry, but my friends made me a surprise party for my birthday, and I will not make it to meet you today. Can we please reschedule? So what does that tell you? You had a date set up. You're supposed to meet her, and literally a half hour before she dips on you. Oh, because of a surprise birthday party. That sounds like BS. I mean, at the end of the day, that's rude. You had a date set up a whole week in advance. If she really liked you, if you were Brad Pitt or Justin Bieber, she wouldn't have been sending a message like that because she'd be thinking, wow, I might never ever get another chance to see this guy. But with a guy that she has low interest in, oh yeah, blow him off at the last minute, mention rescheduling, and he jumps all over. He says, part of me believed it, that the other one believed that all that was BS. In the end, her tone of voice convinced me what she was saying. So, of course, he bought it and ignored the fact that she literally ditched him a half hour. So that tells me she doesn't respect you. She doesn't respect your time, and her interest in you isn't very high. And the fact that she blows you off at the last minute and you're just willing to forgive it shows that you don't really value your time either. And if you don't value your time, then nobody else will either. I replied by telling her, "Don't worry. When are you free to get together then?" She replied, "I'll call you in an hour." And he replied, "Okay, I'll wait for your message, Your Highness." Well, he didn't say the Your Highness part, but he just basically says, "I'll sit here and wait." 2 hours passed by. Remember, she said an hour. She calls 2 hours later because, again, his time's not valuable. He doesn't value it, and obviously, why should she? He doesn't even value his own time. 2 hours passed, then she finally reached out and said, "Hey." I had fell asleep, so I replied to her a half hour later, "Hi," then received no response from her. Ooh, it really sounds like she wants to reschedule. It was in the morning. I wake up, and before I went to work, I sent her a message. Should I have done this? "Hey, if you'd like to reschedule, I'm free on these 2 days." And she answered almost right away and chose the day that we both are free to get together. Then we talked just a little while, only small talk that day, and a week has gone by, and she hasn't reached out to me, and I don't know if I will really see her tomorrow. Should I have kept talking to her the other days that passed by in between dates? There's no point. You're trying to see, does she keep the plans with you? The fact that women who have real interest will keep the plans. And also, you got to have rapport. So I can't remember how he said he met her. Did he meet her online or something? Online dating? Yeah, he met her on a dating app. So it really depends on how much rapport you had with her. If you don't have a lot of rapport and her interest isn't super high, yeah, she's going to blow you off at the last minute. It'd have been different if you'd met her in person and hung out for an hour or whatever. Maybe you were at an event, maybe you're having drinks at a friend's house, maybe you're at somebody's barbecue or pool party over the weekend or football viewing party or whatever it happened to be, and you had plenty of time to talk and establish rapport. You have a better feel for it versus somebody you met online and only spent a few minutes talking to. But keep in mind, she already wasted his time once and blew him off at the last minute. He says, "What could I have done better with this particular girl?" Well, quite frankly, if a girl blows you off a half hour before you're supposed to meet up and says, "Oh, my friends planned a birthday party," so it shows that she'd rather hang out with her friends than potentially the next great love of her life. So obviously, you're not very important to her. You're not real high up on her totem pole. You're all the way down at the bottom. In other words, not very important. And then when he tries to reschedule, she just leaves him hanging, doesn't even reply back. So if it was me and you get, in essence, stood up a half hour before the date and she's the one that brought up rescheduling and you said, "How about these days?" or whatever, and then she doesn't even reply, and then you bail her out by double texting the next day, I wouldn't imagine she's going to keep the second date either. So he says, "What if she flakes out in the last minute like the other day? How would you handle this situation?" I'd delete the number and I would move on. Me personally, I would have waited because dating is like tennis. When you said hi back and she didn't reply at all, then obviously she's not real remorseful about canceling the date, is not really that excited to see you. And so I would have matched and mirrored that lack of enthusiasm and never called or texted her again. And because, again, you're waiting for her to reply back, and she doesn't. Granted, all you said was hi back. She should have said something and acknowledged. If she had enthusiasm, if it was Justin Bieber or Brad Pitt, she would have replied back. But because her interest is low, she didn't. But then you double texted, and then you made another date. So you've communicated you don't think highly of yourself. You communicated a lack of confidence. And you also communicated that you don't value your time. You're willing to let this girl that you don't know totally jerk you around because you come off as being kind of desperate for a date. You don't come off as a guy that's got other choices, other options. It's like she totally disrespected you, and you're just like, "Thank you, may I have another?" So I would say the likelihood of her actually keeping this date, that second date, it's not pretty high. It's a 50-50 shot, but maybe she keeps it, maybe she doesn't. There could be another guy in the picture. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is she disrespected you, and then you let her slide. So let's go through the second email. "Hey, Coach, big fan of your work. Read your first book about 8 times now, and it has just changed my everyday mindset, not just when it comes to women. He says, here's my story. I moved to my girlfriend's country after 5 years of being together, and things didn't work out. I ended up having to find a job locally and went through some hard times dealing with burnout and depression. We ended up being coworkers. Things didn't last, and I got over it easily, very easily, surprisingly. He says, I'm 42, she's 33. Not a big deal to bump into her on occasion. I'm over her. I decided to stick around and actually got a promotion at work as a result of my positive mindset. I've been getting in shape too and focusing on just riding the wave. Now, another woman at work started orbiting around me a while back, and I noticed it. We became close, flirting a little. She's 29. I did not go overboard in trying to be a nice guy. Honestly, I wasn't interested in dating a coworker given the situation and was indifferent. Yeah, you're working with your ex that dumped you, that you moved to the country to be with her. And the only reason you move countries to be with somebody you're dating long distance is because you really want to live in that country. Because I had so many phone sessions and emails from guys over the years that do that. And as soon as they get there, they uproot their life. They sell their houses. They sell their furniture. They leave their friends, their family behind. And like literally 2 weeks after they get to the new country, and sometimes these are guys that were coworkers and that was how they met. Maybe they met at a company retreat or whatever, started dating, and then the guy jumps through his butt, waits a year, year and a half for his transfer to come through, for a position to open up, sells his house, everything, uproots his whole life, gets there, and then 2 weeks later, he gets dumped. And then on top of that, a couple weeks after that, he finds out she's dating and sleeping with another coworker from the same office. How's that for being emasculating? And that particular guy didn't really care to live where she lived, and where he ended up moving to, it was cold, it was snowy, it was like, oh, the weather's like ass there. And he got dumped. And so now he's in a city that sucks, it's cold, the weather sucks, and he's, seeing his girlfriend that he literally moved across the world for, and she just blows him off. I'm not feeling it anymore. And she just blows him off after he gets her, like with no remorse at all. So he says, come to the Christmas party, I had a hunch she'd come over to me the minute she saw me, and I was spot on. My plan was to separate her from the other coworkers and take her out to get to know her more. We did, and we stayed out until late after talking all night. I walked her home, and when she said, I don't think we should kiss, and I said, I think we should, but got the cheek when I went for it. Well, that would have been check, please. Again, that's in the book. Doesn't matter whether she's structured or low interest. You're looking for enthusiasm, and you got a cheek. So after that, I'm not asking a girl that does that ever again. And the only exception to that rule is if she calls you and brings up getting together. Because you don't want to waste your time with some chick that's just looking for attention and validation because she's lonely but's not really that interested. You're trying to keep from wasting your time and your money and your emotional capital on somebody that just doesn't care. He says, I kept my composure and made a joke about it and let it be. No chasing occurred afterwards, and eventually we hung out again till super late, quite drunk, where the tension was just there. The following day, she apologized for keeping me up late and tried to state that we should be friends. I said no, but we can just be coworkers. I declined the friend zone, as it is obvious that there is more going on, to which she agreed, and she also said that only being coworkers would suck. Again, no chasing, and finally one evening we ended up in a bar and made out, and she kissed me first. I don't know what led up to that, but bottom line is they hung out and she kissed him. She told me she was afraid I thought she was too young. Both of us were drunk and had to work. So the other thing is, she kissed you when she's really drunk. If you've ever dated a Brazilian, it's pretty normal in Brazilian culture to kiss random people and make out, but not go home and sleep with them, exchange numbers, or even talk to them ever again. A kiss is just a kiss. And here, a kiss when she's drunk, when you had gotten the cheek previously, I would take that with a grain of salt. And just say, she was hammered. I suggested we meet up again. She decided to meet up on Sunday, to which I agreed. We went for dinner. Again, she states it's complicated with the work environment and my ex being around. I made it clear she shouldn't worry about it, but I guess that's the main issue. I'd say the main issue is just a lack of enthusiasm. Because at the end of the day, if she had super high interest in you, she wouldn't care. She'd be glad to hear that you're no longer involved with the ex in any way, shape, or form. As a matter of fact, she would kind of like it if you guys started dating and the ex found out that you were with her. She'd feel good about that. That she got you and the ex doesn't. Now, when trying to kiss her once again, I got the cheek and said, all right, the wedding is off, or something along those lines. I let her be for a week, backed away, and she contacted me over the weekend and messaged that she was ill. Eventually, we got closer again. She had party plans. Let her be. She got closer again. I don't know what that means. If they're talking, if they're texting, if he's pursuing her. But when you get the cheek, you don't keep calling and texting and trying to get a girl out on a date. And I kind of think that may be what this guy has done. Because he talks about, oh, we got close. Like, what does that mean? Decided to ask her out, as there are not many opportunities at the moment to hang out, and suggested we meet up for dinner at my place or out, which she answered, you're sweet, but I'm not sure we should see each other that way. So that tells me more than likely he was probably pursuing and chasing her this whole time, trying to get her to change her mind, and you're just spinning your wheels. Because now that she's sober, she's like, I don't want to do that. And then he answered, all right, thanks for clearing that up. When that changes, let me know. Until then, I'll see you around. She answered something, and she got a like to her message. My plan is to back off, be polite, smile, and smirk, but not go out on my way to see her or have lunch or let her come back. So it tells me he's probably going to lunches and stuff like that, thinking, hey, I'll fly under the radar. I'll just be her friend for a while, and she'll see how great I am, and then maybe she'll sleep with me. Did I screw that one off somehow, or is the kitty cat just roaming around? I'd say the kitty cat's just not interested, and she hasn't been interested from the beginning, but you've been projecting your high interest onto her and ignoring the fact that she's just not interested. And you should read the book and actually learn the fundamentals and stop trying to take girls to lunch that you're trying to sleep with, because all you end up doing is getting blue balls, and then for all your trouble, all your effort, all the emotional capital that you're spending on her, all you get is a kiss in the cheek. And her continually trying to friend zone you and tell you and hint that she doesn't want to date you romantically. You're looking for enthusiasm. You're looking for, hell yeah, I'd love to go out with you. I'd love to spend time with you. Not, I don't think it's a good idea. I wouldn't waste my time with it. She's not reciprocating. Neither one of these two women are worth these guys' attention, but this is what a lot of guys do. They're desperate for something, and when you stay engaged with these women, you're not doing anything to create a space for somebody else to come in and fill. So when you see this kind of lack of effort, canceling dates at the last minute for a BS response, they leave you hanging, you get the cheek. These are all things that are discussed in the book, and both these guys claim to be somewhat familiar with my work, and yet they're still completely ignoring the signs that these women have low to no interest. And it's just a waste of time, money, energy, and effort, because when you're trying to win these girls over, you're not open to noticing or meeting other women. And that's the big problem here, is that you're wasting your time with women that aren't interested. And since they've got your attention, the women that don't have real interest have your attention, you can't even notice or be open to women that would really like you and would want to go out with you. So don't waste your time with women that behave like this. So if you got a question or challenge and you'd like to get my help, go to understandingrelationships.com, click the products tab at the top of your screen, and book a coaching session with yours truly. Until next time, I will talk to you soon.